BodyWisePerfectSize.com is proud to bring you an interview with Dr. Lucy Aphramor. Dr. Aphramor is a registered dietitian, an internationally recognized authority in the field of size discrimination and weight stigma and how they impact our health negatively. She's also the co-author of Body Respect, What Conventional Health Gets Wrong, Leaves Out, and Just Plain Fails to Understand About Our Weight. Lucy, can you tell me a little bit more about how you discovered that it really wasn't weight that was the problem when it came to people's health?
I did a degree in dietetics. It just struck me that what I was doing, most of the people that I was seeing were working class white women in deprived area of an inner city in England who'd been told to lose weight or who wanted to lose weight. And what I was doing wasn't helpful. It wasn't helpful in that it wasn't that effective, and people didn't seem any happier at all. I started wondering what I was missing. And then another thing was that sometimes I'd be cycling through areas that were just very run down. They'd be boarded up, they'd be burnt out. And it seemed that there's more to people's health than diet. I just began questioning things. And then another thing was the appalling stories of prejudice that women and men as well had experienced because of their weight. And that was just abhorrent, both within healthcare and outside of healthcare. And I found that I was apologising for the treatment that people had received in healthcare. And there's just something very, very wrong about that. So I thought there's different things that can be going on. Either maybe I'm just a rubbish dietitian, you know? So, but I'd excelled. I'm academic, you know, I can jump through hoops. So I went on a behaviour change course, and that really just clarified my ideas. It didn't look at the broader picture of health. So then I thought, well, maybe I'm misreading the evidence. So I got the evidence at the time. It was called Sign 1996 that we relied on. And I went to it, and wherever it made claims for weight loss, but being both beneficial and effective, I got the primary data. And I read through it, and it felt like I was falling without a net, because what it showed was, whereas I had been acting in good faith, thinking, I'll just help you lose a bit of weight and then you'll be okay, that in fact there was not a single scientific study that I found that actually said that. So although the guidelines purported to say that, and although the citations ostensibly supported those claims, the evidence was misreported. And then there was another time, it all sort of came together. I was sat in a journal club at the hospital, and we were looking at high rates of heart disease in South Asian men locally. So South Asian men in the UK have about double the rate of heart disease of the general population. And we talked about all the usual culprits. We talked about ghee, we talked about smoking, we talked about sedentary behaviour. And it just struck me that the thing that we weren't talking, there was an elephant in the room, and that was racism, that surely living with racism impacts people's health. So I went back and I Googled racism and heart disease. It made me realise I needed another model, and I needed to do a lot more research, that people were coming to me, the presenting problem was weight, and in fact the actual problems were poverty, oppression, relationship with food, size stigma, and metabolic fitness. So I hadn't actually come across health at every size at this stage, but I realised that what I needed to do was stop promoting dieting, stop promoting weight loss as effective for anything, because not only was it not helpful, it was actually harmful. So the research I was looking at showed it was harmful in physiological terms. So for example, there was research around loss of bone mass with intentional weight loss. Of course, the well-known effects of yo-yo dieting on lipid irregularities and linked to heart problems in the long term as well. And then on a psychological level, on people's sense of self, it gave them the idea that you have to be thin to be healthy. And that is not true. It's not science, and it's not helpful. And then also, when I was thinking about the discrimination that people had experienced, treating weight as if weight is the problem increases stigma. So for me, the more I've worked in the area, the underlying problem around diet is that they promote stigma and self-loathing, and that's the problem.
So Lucy, what is it that you think we can do to help the situation?
Well, I think the good news is that we can. Really, there is really, really positive news, and that is that we can change things. So where my journey took me was, first of all, it was like shifting from the focus on weight loss to a focus on health gain, and realising that health gain, we're well in ourselves when we value ourselves. So the practice of compassion and acceptance, that these are really, really powerful antidotes to the shame that leads to eating problems and body dissatisfaction.
It strikes me, though, you know, that we have a culture where self-care doesn't seem to include self-compassion. You know, people just don't think of linking the two together, and so I'm wondering how we can get that out in the world.
Well, I agree with you there, Carrie. I think that compassion and acceptance are, certainly in my experience, are late coming into sort of medical education, but the good news is that they are coming into it. And I think the best way of getting this out into the world is to live it ourselves. That's the way that other people see it in action.